We're recording.
Call the meeting to order. The first item of business is roll call. Mrs. Corso.
Here.
Mr. Harrington.
Here.
Mr. Haber.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Kuntz, I know, is not going to be here. I'm here. Mr. Miller's not here. Dr. Siemens is here. Mr. Ziyer's not here. Mr. Zuloff is here. All right, thank you. Minutes for October 2nd.
Can we excuse Mr. Miller?
Have we heard from Mr. Miller?
I'm just making the motion that we excuse Mr. Miller.
Okay. What about Mr. Ziyer?
I make a motion to excuse Mr. Zier.
We'll combine it with Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Yes.
Right,
Okay,
right.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we excuse both Mr. Miller and Mr. Ziyer. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
For the record, I would have made the motion for Mr. Zier too. I don't want him to think I'm playing favorites. I
No,
just
we're
didn't
gonna
notice
play
it
that with
here.
you now. You're stuck with that.
Burned
It's
in.
on the streets now, Mike, sorry.
I'm burned.
Yeah. Okay, minutes from October 2nd. Thank you for that. And the minutes are attached.
Since we don't have to excuse, right?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
There's three of them.
There's three of them, what?
February 6th, March 6th, September 4th.
That
That's
was
the
the last
minutes from the
meeting
last
Yeah.
meeting.
that we approved.
We
at
approved
the
it
last
last
meeting.
Okay.
We only have the October 2nd. But that did include, as you say, the prior three. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the October 2nd meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So speaking of minutes, do
I'm
we
doing
have a
it.
volunteer?
I got it.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. All right, new business, Paper District Park.
Yeah, I guess all these are for me today.
All right, you're the main man. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, so Paper District Park, that is the property up there just to the, I'll say, west of the Chesapeake. We've been working on developing plans. I think we've seen probably 5 or 6 iterations of plans over the last 20 plus years. But over the past several months, we've been putting ideas on paper, and we're hoping to possibly move forward with something next year. And it's going to still incorporate those ideas and thoughts from before. Some of the things we're looking at is reusing a lot of the sandstone that we have pulled up from our sidewalk programs. We've been storing that, so reusing that on site. Some of the rail that we've secured from certain projects like Shoreline Drive and even Columbus Ave, we have some rail that is in decent shape that we might try to put into that project as well. And there's still, one of the first projects that I worked on when I was here was demolition of the Keller building. Still have some of those big sandstone blocks from the Keller building that we'd like to incorporate into that project, maybe as some seating areas, some seating arrangements, things like that. The goal would be to hire a landscape architect and for a low-cost project to be built out there, reutilizing a lot of the materials that we've secured and kind of set aside for things like this throughout the city. So a second component to it would be educational signage regarding the paper district, but we also don't want to neglect the ice industry that was here as well. So that area just south of the area south of where the Pelee Islander and the jet dock, there's a little grass area there right next to the dumpster enclosures. We planted 4 locust trees back when we redid the Jackson Street Pier. So that area, we're looking to have some informational signage possibly related to the ice industry as well, and bringing some of those existing or those those materials that we've been storing into that project too. So we're hoping to reutilize those. We do have quite a few renderings from before that can be presented to whoever the landscape architect is that's selected to say, here's the ideas that we're looking at. So that's something as the staff and engineering finds time in 26, possibly 27. They're looking at moving forward with that. But we've been working with the Historical Society as well to make sure that any of the educational components do have their feel to it.
Thank you. Are there any questions, Bill?
So that area to the northwest of Chesapeake, that corner, is that also part of this park?
Yes, that's where
That's the main
park
part of the
would
park.
be. That would be the main part of it. And we've been working with the Chesapeake, or been not working with, but talking to them, making sure that we're not blocking views, but also having trees and things like that to provide some shade, but not blocking sunset views. Some of it's on their property, some of it's not on their property, making sure that that the commitments that were made years and years ago, that there was going to be development there, that we would continue with that commitment.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mike.
so I'm trying to understand the ownership. Last I checked, the tax map showed the condo owning that.
And not the other
But
ways.
are they going, how's that going to work?
Those details still need to be worked out, but my understanding is that when the property, the city owns property on the east side of that building, and my understanding is that the city has always been asked by the Chesapeake to put a park on that piece of property, and it's been reserved for public, but those details still need to be worked out, which is why we're still looking at possibly later in 26 or earlier in 27.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? No. All right, thank you. Appreciate that update. Parks paving.
This is a quick one. The paving of various properties along the waterfront. For example, the pier behind the skate park, the remainder of the Shoreline Drive parking lot, the parking lot over by the senior center that the city owns. All of that stuff is under contract, but the contract extends through next spring. But we just wanted everybody to be aware that it is coming. The contractor's trying to get in there this year, but we're not 100% sure based on their workload if they're going to be able to, but they're trying to still get in there before the asphalt plants close.
All right, any questions on that paving? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Sandusky Bay Pathway Design.
Yes, as this committee is definitely aware, over the past 8 years, we've been working on finalizing a design for the Sandusky Bay Pathway. I wanted to give an update as to where it stands from east to west. So there's a section that goes from Venice Road to the current terminus near downtown at Mills. The city just received funding for the portion that goes from Lions Park in front of the health department down Monroe, and then connect up to Mills through some of those side streets up there. So that portion of the project is going to get done, which would leave the section up Edgewater to Lions Park along Monroe is the final section on the west end of the city that needs constructed, but the design and acquisition is complete along that route. As far as the eastern side, there is still acquisition. The final layout is established along First Street over to about halfway down First Street until we can get the connection. So the layout is done. They're working through final design. There's still a little bit of acquisition along First Street, and then it's going to weave its way in through the boathouse area in Cove and Cove Park. And making that connection from there to First Street is really the final piece of the design that we're trying to figure out. But like I said, there is funding for that section on the west end, and engineering did secure funding to get across Cedar Point Drive at First Street as well. So then there's just going to be finalizing that connection along First Street, and then that portion on Edgewater that remains for construction.
Mrs. Corso?
On First Street, is the pathway going to be on the north side or the south side of the street?
On the north side.
How are you doing that with those houses that are right up to the sidewalk now? What's happening there?
So right now, the plan, that's where we're stopping. Old East Side Cafe.
Okay.
That was recently purchased by Polyant, and they've been really good to work with to get through their property. But from that point to the Cove District is where we're still finalizing that acquisition and layout and how we're going to route that. That's been the most challenging. We've had some property owners that have been really easy to work with, and we've had others that are resistant. So we're trying to figure out the most amenable to everybody.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions on the pathway? All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, yes, Mr.
I
Zula.
did observe that, I'm excited to see the section out to, yeah, well, almost a sports force. It's already striped and everything. It looks like it would even be usable and paved all the way to, is it Remington? And then there's just this small section on the south side of crossings, I think it's not paved yet, but looks like it's ready to go. I was curious about how we're going to get from the bridge to the gated area, to the gate area, that little, across the parking lot. Is that just go through the parking lot, or what are we going to do there?
Through the chair, do you
Yes.
want me to, that's item E on here, do you want me to address that now? I'm fine doing that.
It seems
Oh,
relevant.
I see.
Okay,
It seems relevant.
that's fine.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry,
No,
okay.
that's okay. So yes, that section along Cleveland Road, and then it goes behind the Explorer and the other plaza over there, that has been paved. They're doing grading, final grading on it, and they're going to be planting it as well over the next few weeks. You'll see next week, they're going to bring in the landscaper, so all the landscaping will be done along that section this winter. They ran into some issues with some of the backfill material at the bridge, which delayed the bridge, plus the bridge manufacturer ran into some material delays that the bridge cannot get here until November. Late November, so they're not going to be able to install it until December. And with that, they can't pour the concrete deck. So we've been working with them to make sure that we get the good quality so that the concrete can cure at the deck properly. So it's extremely unlikely that the section east of or west of Remington is going to be paved this year, and that the bridge won't be open. Because the contract, our hope was to have it done by November, but the bridge delays have really caused some issues with costs and things like that, with just trying not to incur additional timeline costs with the contractor. So it's likely that that'll be done next year, and then what they're going to do is once it comes going from west to east, once it comes down off of that bridge, it's going to go northeasterly along the shoreline. You'll see some guardrails being put in where there's some erosion right by the marina right now. You'll see the guardrail put in, and that's right along where the pathway is going to be. It's going to ride the fence line. It's going to cross the drive area that goes into the harbor. The north drive entrance, not the main drive entrance, but the north one that goes into the back area of the harbor, the western area. And it's going to come down in front of the parking lot, Cedar Point's eastern parking lot, their overflow parking lot for Castaway Bay. It's going to then connect across the main drive entrance to the harbor and then to where the pathway's already been laid out. The fencing contractor's also working in that area, going to get the fence up, the board-on-board fence in front of the condo portion of the harbor this year. So there's still a lot of work to be done. We're hoping to wrap up as much as we can by middle to end of December, get the bridge kind of set, and then come back as soon as the plant's open in the spring and do the final paving.
Could I,
Yes, sir. Mr.
yeah,
Rizzo.
so the bridge deck's going to be concrete, the actual span is be concrete decked?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're just being flexible with the timing, because it would be a shame to, rush, risk low-quality concrete, pushing it in the wrong weather and having a bridge deck that would, fail early, because that would be horribly expensive to repair, I imagine.
Right.
I'm hoping that we're, getting the best quality and get the slumps and make sure that the thing will last for 50 years, not 5 years.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yes, Mrs. Corso.
How wide is the opening for the boats to get through?
I don't know the exact width. That'll depend on the elevation of the water, but I don't know the exact width of it. We certainly met what was discussed back in 17 or 18 with the boating community about what they wanted to see with width and height. And I've tried to, we've discussed having some sort of consistency as well with Cedar Point for their main bridge. That way there's not a false sense of security on one or the other. If somebody comes in, they think that they have clearance, but it will be marked height-wise, but I don't know the exact width.
Okay, and will you be dredging that area on a regular basis or not?
That dredging area is for I think it's managed by the marinas and the others over there, so that's a private area, so the city doesn't dredge in that back bay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. Anything else on the pathway? Either one. Okay, so we'll move on to old business, the dredge infill. And that question, I think, was in relation to the various articles that have been in the paper relating to the fact that there's not a spot to place the fill from the dredging of the bay, and where we're at with potential wetland development.
So it's a very complicated question that I'll try to answer as thoroughly as possible. So back in 2018, 2017, when the state of Ohio banned the open lake disposal of dredged material, that required the dredging companies, whoever was going to be dredging, whether it's a private or public or whatever the shipping channel is, required them to find a different use. Anything that exceeded 10,000 cubic yards had to have some sort of beneficial reuse. Being that the state put that requirement on, and this is not uncommon, that's similar in the Chesapeake and various other lakes and bays throughout the country. That the Corps of Engineers is responsible for the Moseley Channel and for dredging the Moseley Channel. well, they were then required to meet that requirement from the state with federal regulations somewhat contradicting it back in that time. Since that time, those federal regulations have been updated. But they have been frantically looking for somewhere to put that material. Since the state put that requirement in pre-2020, they've been working hard with various state agencies have been working very hard with the federal government to find local partners to do projects. But I have tried not to commit city funds to develop those projects to make sure that it's state or federal funds that are going to be paying for all those. Our commitment has been really in staff time and helping to facilitate finding those locations. We have not received funding for future phases of the wetlands, even though we did the city led the Sandusky Bay Initiative and the Sandusky Bay Strategic Restoration. We have several projects, probably 8 different projects that could be implemented. They're very conceptual, but they could be implemented within the city limits, along the shoreline within the city limits. The Strategic Restoration Initiative also had a series of projects in the rest of Sandusky Bay. I didn't feel it was right for the city staff to spend time outside of city limits, so we're still here to help consult or provide advice or be involved as needed, but we're not going to manage any projects outside of city limits unless directed to do so. But at the staff level, we were not comfortable doing that. So there are other projects outside the city that could be eligible to receive that dredge material. There's also projects inside the city, if funding were available, that we would be willing to move forward. One of the big issues is that you need a willing partner that's going to give you the littoral rights and easements along their shoreline to do these projects. We were working with U.S. Subaki, who was great to work with. And
Thank you.
Sure. They were really good to work with, and it turned out that what the website showed on the auditor's site contradicted what the historical ownership showed on a sliver of property that ran north of the railroad. That sliver of property appeared to be owned by Subaki, which is where we were going to do the second dredge placement. But when the surveyor got down into it, found title and deed restrictions, titles and deeds that were either for the railroad or for the property owners immediately south of the railroad, and it wasn't U.S. Subaki. So we turned that over to the federal government, to the Corps of Engineers. We've been working with them, trying to get them to pair up with the railroad to find other locations. We do have the option for 3 more expansions of the causeway wetlands that's already out there. But the big thing is the funding agencies are hesitant to fund additional phases of the project until they see that project brought to its final completion and to a successful completion. So there's been reluctance to put a lot of money into the projects in the city for ownership reasons, for demonstration of existing projects, things like that. So they are looking to find other places, and they're open to any ideas. Right now they're looking at, one of the concepts is to put it farther east or farther west in Sandusky Bay, which is very far outside the city limits. So they're working with the Nature Conservancy, they're working with ODNR, Ohio EPA, the Corps of Engineers. People are all working together to try to find a place to put that dredge material, but it's just been very complicated. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Zuloff.
so it seems we do have some concepts for, from the Lions Park erosion control study, and it seems like at least some of that material might be useful, conceivably, depending on its consistency. And I also wonder if that bluff north of what is, I think, now owned by the Health Department between Lions Park and Safe Harbor might be cry for a place to turn into habitat, recreation, wetland, all that. Did you have, and I imagine you've already considered that.
Yes, so the area north of the health department is still owned by Erie County, so we would have to work with them to get the rights for that. But at Lions Park, the key is getting the funding to create, similar to what we did at the Causeway Wetlands, creating that perimeter area for the material, and this sounds weird, but for the material to dewater while it's sitting there, to compact, which is what's happened out there. And so you have to build that perimeter for that to happen. Unfortunately, the material that's being dredged, the historical data and analysis that's come out on it is that it's a very silty material, and it's not sandy enough to be for beach replenishment or use as a beach. So it's really going to need to be, it doesn't have much of a structural component to it either for backfill and things like that. So there's not you also have to make sure that the material matches the use, and one of the things that they would have to look into at Lions Park is making sure that where they're putting it, it's going to be contained properly, because it is a very silty material and all that other stuff. So as they move forward, I believe there's funding being sought to move forward with one or two of the first several phases at Lions Park. If they get that, then that certainly could be an option, but it would definitely not be, it would not take all the material that comes out of that one dredging cycle.
Yeah, that's understood. It's my understanding that sometimes the dredgings are very sandy depending on where they're working. But so it'd be kind of neat if there was some flexibility, or saying, hey, if you find some sandy material, don't waste it in an impoundment when you could. I'm trying not to use the word, the term beach nourishment, but
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What determines success of the cells over along the causeway? When do they determine that has been successful?
Yeah, so I'll get into item C on here because I think it's very relevant. When that was originally built in 2020 and 21, and then 2 rounds of dredging was placed into it, we assumed that it was going to need 3 to 5 years to compact and to dewater. And then the plan was always to have a flow through wetlands where you open up a portion on the north or the west and then open up a portion on the south and allow the water to come in. We received notification from ODNR a couple weeks ago, and it's one of the last things I'm trying to get out is an application for between 1.2 and 1.3 million to bring that wetlands to final completion, which would be reshaping it, allowing for that flow through wetlands and putting native plantings in there. And I'm sure people have seen that we recently brought in a company to remove all the woody cottonwoods and the debris and everything else that was out there as much as we could, because we felt that over the next year or two, those things would be even tougher to remove. So we needed to do that now so we can set it up for that next phase. And as part of that, we would be putting in riffle pools and other spawning areas for native fish. Basically the success of the project would be to have a wetlands that is creating that habitat for fish, for birds, amphibians, anything that's out that's native in the bay, hopefully bringing more fish and wildlife into the bay, and also creating and allowing for nutrient reduction. So it's supposed to, some of those plants and stuff are supposed to bring phosphorus and nitrogen out of the water. In Sandusky Bay, we no longer have a nitrogen algae, a nitrogen-based algae out there. It's now switching over to phosphorus, which is what was in the lake to begin with. So the goal is going to be getting plants that'll bring that phosphorus out of the water. So there's a lot of components to it. And then the last piece that was very passionate to the committee that was envisioning this was also creating an area that would allow for paddle sports and things like that, kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, those types of things, to get in there and interact with it. So having them deep enough, but then having pools off to the side that can create that habitat that you can't get into. One of the neat things about it as well is that when Cedar Point's done doing the expansion of the causeway, there should be the bike trail on that side that can connect to this, so people will be able to get off and walk around it once it's planted and safe. Right now, it's just not safe for people to walk at. Some of the areas are pretty mucky still.
Mr. Chairman,
Judy?
what are you doing to keep the cottonwoods out of that? Anything?
So cottonwoods are native, so
Seems to me like
there's-
there's a lot of them in there now.
they're pretty much gone now because we did have somebody come out with a bush hog and remove everything. So they're pretty much gone at this point. There are some other things that have been growing, but they're not woody debris like that will cause problems for the future. But when there are native plantings out there and the project takes its final shape, I don't think there's going to be an effort necessarily to remove cottonwoods on a regular basis as much as there's going to be an effort to establish the plantings that are incorporated into the design, which will likely not be too many cottonwoods, if any.
Okay.
All right. Any,
Mr. Chairman? Aaron, did you say you have current dredgings, dewatering sitting now?
The Corps put 2 rounds of dredge in the north and south cells. The north cell filled up a little faster, and the south cell, with the low lake levels, there's no capacity left in there either. But yes, there's 2 rounds of dredging that were in there, and that's why they're still looking for more areas to put future rounds of dredging. I believe they did 10,000 cubic yards this past year. I believe the Corps did, because that's the limit on allowing to dispose in an approved open lake area. So I believe they did 10,000 in the shallowest portion of the Mosley Channel this year, and they might continue to do that. I'm not sure.
What's the time frame for dewatering?
We assumed it was going to be 3 to 5 years, but the last dredge cycle was put in 22, and it looks pretty dewatered now, and it looks ready.
What kind of environmental analysis is done on the quality of the dredgings?
The federal government takes those analyses on a regular, like every year, every other year or something. Before they dredge anything, they have to do all of that to make sure that they're not putting something
I was more
contaminated.
referring to the materials that are already on land and are dewatering. Is there an analysis done to see if there's any contaminants?
That was done before they placed it. They wouldn't have placed it if there were contaminants in it. So they take that analysis before they dredge, and then they dredge it and then place it.
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Next item would be the Battery Park PUD.
I don't have information on that one, I'm sorry.
No problem. And the landing,
Yeah, the landing is moving forward. I'm sure everybody was excited when the temporary signals were off of Cleveland Road, only to see them go back up recently by Heminger Ditch. They're installing the sewer and water connections along that location. They're expected to be done, anticipating being done next week and being off of Cleveland Road. And then everything else will be north of Cleveland Road. That temporary causeway that was built across Heminger Ditch, they're anticipating next week or the week after getting in and starting to drill the pilings for the boardwalk just north of that. It's going to run parallel to that along the north, and it's going to connect to the node on the west side of Heminger Ditch. And then they're just going to continue moving north over the next 14 months. So that project's supposed to be done in January. That's the contractual completion, but they're trying to get it done before the snow flies in 26, which anymore that's November. So they're hoping to move as quickly as possible.
okay. Thank you. Any questions on the landing?
Well, I do have one more thing on that. I want to bring it to the public's attention that even though these pathways might look usable, please don't use them. The one on Cleveland Road, it looks usable, but it's still under warranty. So the contractor is going to be responsible for maintaining it until then, and we don't want to add additional warranty items to them. Also, if they're going to be building the boardwalk across Heminger Ditch, but there's a bridge right in the middle, and that bridge isn't coming until April. So I don't want people flying across there thinking that, it's usable and then falling into the lake. Same thing above Pipe Creek. So
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I might, along that vein, I might want to alert you that I think it's just been the habit of when delivering vehicles to the dealership there but I was kind of alarmed to see vehicles parked on the new pathway as they moved things around, and I don't imagine they saw the harm in it, but you got, I don't know, it was like freshly laid asphalt in there. And they were also, you get when you had the road closed off and they had a truck there, I look at it and I say, it seems like that site is large enough to not unload the trucks on the road. I don't know what they're going to do, once the pathway's off, but it's going to be awful tempting for somebody to run a truck right onto that pathway. If that's the problem they're trying to solve in avoiding taking the truck in onto the site. Don't know what,
Yeah, we fully agree.
Yeah, okay, so you're aware of
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is there any form of policing going on for that right now that, say, the police force is aware and is checking that area for people, like he's saying, trucks coming in and doing that type of stuff? And has the dealership been aware of that, not to allow it to be used for their unloading and loading?
We have talked to the dealership and let them know that they should not be pulling cars or their trucks onto it to unload vehicles. They said they would do that from the road. So we're going to have more conversations with them because this was discussed again yesterday. What we've done in the past is we would put those flexible bollards up, or we would put some sort of what you saw on Shoreline Drive or even on Meg's as a temporary measure to try to train the people to not do those things. And then after a year or two, we'll take them down. We're hoping that just simple communication with them to not do that is the best route. We have not talked to the police department about going out there, though. I'm sure that'll be a topic of conversation if it continues.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mrs. Corso.
How much parking is there at the landing itself?
I don't know the exact number of spots, but there's quite a bit. The there's also some parking for folks that might be bringing kayaks in for the kayak launch on a trailer. I don't know the exact number, but my biggest concern is that when the sports center's packed, they're just gonna migrate up there and use all that parking. So there's gonna have to be some discussion about how to manage that and patrol that.
Well, that was my concern, because the way they park on Cleveland Road when Sports Horse is full is begging for an accident to happen. So
Yeah,
will cars be able to go back there and park back there, or no?
They're not supposed to, no. That's supposed to be just for the park users. We've talked to both Sports Center and Sports Force in Cedar Point about doing a parking analysis out there. I'm not sure where they are with that, but trying to get them to utilize that overflow parking to the east when possible, possibly shuttling from other locations, but not to utilize the park as expansion of their parking facility.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on the landing? All right, we had item number 5 is old business with no updates. The Shelby Street boat launch, the Jackson Street parking lot and the hotel, and the Lions Park erosion control study. Are there any items, any questions anybody has? Seeing none, we'll move on to community input and,
I have one thing.
oh,
Excuse me.
Mrs. Corso.
I just would like to announce that the Sandusky Christmas Market is going to be bigger and better than last year, so I hope everyone comes down and takes advantage of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Zuloff.
I think it's really important for us to express our gratitude and appreciation for Ms.
That was my next item.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
I
your-
have it on mine.
Well, if you, I don't want to steal your thunder, so
Thank
if you'd
you.
like to do that, but,
Yes.
or expand on my gratitude and appreciation for our Mr. Klein's service, then go right ahead.
Second that.
All right. No, I definitely, Aaron, not only today, but for the time you've been here, you've been a great resource and been very helpful in providing info and understanding to this committee. And we wish you well in your future endeavor.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I thank everybody up here, everybody that's been on this committee. I certainly thank the residents and everybody else that have stuck with us. Some of the difficult projects and difficult conversations, but it's been a true blessing for me to serve this community for 12 and a half years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to adjourn?
Second.
Second, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Shut up.
Thanks again,